Penelope Williams, give her a big round of applause. Thank you. So welcome to our annual holiday candle lighting service. Traditionally, this is the 2015th candle lighting service. The first one was not as crowded as this one. The technology of the candles was a little bit different, and the traffic was not nearly as bad. Were any of you there in the very first candle lighting service? We've got a wonderful evening prepared for you. Our theme tonight is, I had the light within me all along. And so as we explore and honor that theme tonight, I'm going to ask if you will join me in our traditional affirmative prayer style. So don't take everything off of your lap. Actually hold your stuff with you. But if you could close your eyes. If your days are anything like ours, I'm sure you've had a very, very full Wednesday. And so this is an opportunity to give yourself the luxury to just be here now. And in this now moment, we take that deep cleansing breath. Oh, I think we should do it again. Take a deep breath. And because we like things in threes, let's do it one more time in honor of that Trinity. And breathing out. There is nothing more beautiful than the awareness of the now. For it is in this now moment that we acknowledge, recognize, and receive everything in life that we need. Because everything that we need is contained within the breath. The breath itself is that life. And as we deliberately open and welcome this breath into us, it travels from the crown of our head to the soles of our feet. And what we celebrate about this breath, that as it travels down, it clears, it strengthens, it renews everything within its path. And so tonight is a night of renewal. As we breathe in, we are renewing everything within the physical body, within the emotional body, within the spiritual body in this season of light. And individually and collectively, we ponder and reflect on the idea that wherever we were in our life's journey up until present time, we have had the light within us all along. And how marvelous it is to celebrate and to honor the recognition that now where we are today, not only do we recognize and understand that, but we have the tremendous gift to let that light shine to the degree of our willingness. So our individual and our collective prayer in this season and in this celebration this evening is that every single person here dives just a little bit deeper into that pool of willingness, allowing themselves to let the light of their genius, the light of their beauty, the light of their creativity, the light of their enoughness, the light of their worth, the light of their gifts and talents, the light of their prosperity, and the light of their wholeness to shine as brightly as we are individually and collectively willing to let them shine. And the remarkable thing about that is that when we are all in alignment and in agreement with this, healing occurs. And it isn't healing that is contained within the walls of this building, but it is healing that is vibrational, that is energy that knows no time or space, and it travels and it travels and it travels, and it becomes a part of the gleaming beauty and the restoration that our world hungers for. So we at Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta believe in playing big. And tonight, in our attempt, in our intent to play big, we take it upon ourselves individually to allow ourselves to dive deep, knowing that as we do, that others around the world are vibrationally feeling and being restored because of our intent. And so we celebrate the miraculous. We celebrate the light that is within our neighbor to our left and to our right and to each and every person that walks this planet. We celebrate the sentient genius that breathes and moves and has its being in all personalities. And what we know this evening is that there is no place where this light is not. And in honor of this, we now take one more huge, beautiful, healing, whole breath. And we commit now to letting that light of our individuality shine brightly as we move forth into this evening. And together we say, and so it is.
Will you join as we sing together, Lead Me to the Light? Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains.
and what we come to adore the Christ consciousness and the light within each and every one of us, and the law of life, which is in each and every one of us. And so with our theme tonight, I had the light within me all along. We have so many remarkable people that support and make up all of the beautiful systems that make Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta run so smoothly. Best center ever. And so every single year we try to find a new way to give more people exposure, so you get to see who it is that is behind so much of what it is that we are privileged to partake of and be spiritually fed week after week after week. And so tonight we have several speakers who are going to give you just a little personal taste of their interpretation of I had the light within me all along. The first one is someone who has been a greeter with us for a very long time, but she's also someone who comes in week after week and sits at that front desk, and we do nothing. She runs the entire show. And that is Gloria Logan. And yeah. And then we have one of our esteemed practitioners who's been so integral started in the music program. He's attended a lot of the conferences, and now he's a cherished practitioner, and that will be Will Ronnie Mathis. And then someone who has very much been a part of our youth and our children for many years, and has moved in taking a stellar role as a facilitator for our adult study group. If you don't know what that is, during first service every week, there's about 24 people upstairs that are poring over the science of mind philosophy and asking questions and taking a deeper dive. And that person tonight will be Kathy Daniels. And these are our first three. And so we're going to start with, please welcome Gloria Logan.
Well, my story is going to be short. You know, I'm a PK, and I know what some of you mean. That's a preacher's kid. And preacher's kids have all kind of reputations. But to balance mine out, I had 6 older brothers. I'm the only girl and the youngest in the family. So I never had the opportunity to act out. So I had to be a good girl all my life, until I got to college. The amazing thing about growing up in the South, and in the years that I grew up, you know, my father actually was a sharecropper, so it was all about figuring out every way you could how to earn a living, how to live through the season when you weren't working. And what I learned during that period of time was how much people worked together. They shared whatever it was that they had, and they took care of you. It didn't matter whose child you were. You know, if you did something wrong, if you did something good, you were going to have their support. So that's the early part of my life, and I think that's where the giving and the sharing really kind of began with me, is that I knew there was a way to be a part of whatever was going on, and that I always had something to give. So if I fast forward, it took me a while to get to this place, and I'm very happy to be here, and I love it. But being a preacher's child, you know, you end up going through all kind of religious changes and denying and accepting. And by the time I left college, I wasn't going anywhere, you know, couldn't figure out where I belonged. But eventually, and particularly in the time moving here to Georgia 10 years ago, had a friend that asked me one day to go to Unity out in Sandy Plains with her. And I did. And I thought, this feels really good. Didn't know all about what it was, but it just felt really good being in that audience. And that was kind of my first introduction. And then I worked for a very short time as a concierge at the Woodruff Arts Center, and I would kind of sneak around during the time I was supposed to be at the front desk and kind of listen to what was going on. And I thought, I could be a part of this. And so, you know, eventually I stopped working, and actually started to attend the services. And I can tell you that it has changed my life. You know, it allows me, it helps me to just not deal with the fear that I've had from time to time, to just be who I am, which some days is tough, but if you can remember to just stop, which is what I do, and just pause, just let it be. And I really have learned that I don't have to figure everything out when it happens. And so that's kind of what this has been for me. And I think that just being in this environment has just really taught me that everything happens when it needs to happen. And if you can just release, let go, and allow, everything will be okay. And I have a bumper sticker that says that. Thank you.
Hi. When I talk about the story that I'm about to tell you, some of it seems like a lifetime away for me. I was born the youngest of 5 children, and my first until 7th grade, till I was 7, was basically normal. Between the 3rd and 4th grade, I was hit by a car and knocked into a coma. I was in the coma, and the doctors had told my parents that we don't know what we can do for him. He's just in there. We've done everything we can. So I stayed in the coma for a little while. I don't know what the time frame was. I came out of that, and I had the mentality of a 2-year-old. So the hospital, of course, I got to go home because there was no reason for them to keep me. So my mother, I was 7 years old, so I was able to wear normal clothes, but she had to feed me. I crawled. I cried all the time, typical of what a 2-year-old would do. We were at my grandmother's one day, and just out of the blue, it's like a haze cleared, and everything was just normal. And I didn't realize at the time the gift I was given. I was young. And as I started, after that, though, my parents, we want you to go to church. So I did. I went to church, went to Baptist church, and knew that I felt like I was given a second chance, but no matter what, I could not do exactly what I was supposed to do. I was human, and I would leave with guilt, and then I would go back loving the church, wanting to be accepted. And I believe that held me back through a lot of my younger life. And I continued in the church until I was in my 20s. And I stopped going because it just didn't feel like I would be accepted by the God, the Spirit, the light. And so I stopped going. After several years, probably closer into my late 40s, I knew, and I had known all along, that there was something in me that knew that I was loved and knew that I was here for a reason, to make people feel good. And I thought, how can this God, this light, not love me for myself? So I stumbled upon Unity. I went into the church one day. I was looking for something that was a religion that was not the one I had grown up in. So I went there, and I pulled up. I went in, and they had this huge tile waterfall. Water was coming down, and I walked in, and the choir was practicing, and they sang, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I literally turned around and went to my car and squatted down so no one could see me and burst into tears. I'm like, oh my God, this is what it's all about. I went there for a little while, and it resonated some, but it just wasn't right. And then I started coming to the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. Came here for a while, and it fit right in. But there was one Sunday a song was sang, and this was probably a year or so after going, and the words were, how can anyone ever tell you you're anything less than beautiful? How can anyone ever tell you you're anything less than whole? How can anyone fail to notice that your love is such a miracle? How does anyone not know what a blessing you are to my soul? I heard that song, and that's when I knew the light's in me, and I'm ready to be who I am, and my gift to the world will show. Thank you.
When I was 8 years old, I was at Ridgecrest Baptist Assembly in North Carolina. in Asheville. And I didn't feel good that day. And so I went back to the room while church was going on and the music was going on. And laying there on the bed, I heard the songs, and the music touched my heart. And I started crying. And I was there with only me, no minister, not my mother. And I had my first conversation with God. It was a very important moment in my life, but as I grew throughout my life studying religions and spirituality, I would know that I could talk with God, but at times I would forget. I got busy with college, career, family, and life. And I was trying to prove to myself how grown up I was. I could do it by myself. Over the years after college, in my quest to understand and to reconnect with the God energy, I met Dr. Jerry Jampolsky, a man who wrote the book Love is Letting Go of Fear. And when I met him, there was such a glowing presence around him. It was just gorgeous. And I thought this was so profound because more than anything else in my life, fear was keeping me from being connected to God. So I was reconnecting with that little girl long ago who experienced God and my own inner God light. I wanted to glow like Dr. Jampolsky. So in many years, the pieces really began to fit when I found the Science of Mind. I already realized the God voice didn't come from out there. It came from inside me. Science of Mind taught me that God and I are one. God spoke to me and through me. The ever-present inner God self is the inner light. It has always been there and always will be because God is infinite. God light is still in me and always has been. But again, I covered it many times and muted it. So, that light especially became more real to me when I had a life-threatening health challenge. We have all learned throughout our church years to surrender to God. When I once again sank into extreme fear, I had to surrender to the doctors, the nurses, really surrender. That was all I could do. I turned it over to God in me and the same God in the medical staff. It was all the same. God in me was in charge. When I realized this, the fear eased away, and I felt total peace and love. Ironically, today I went back for my most recent follow-up, 3 years cancer-free. So, my point that I finished in with is my inner light is my indwelling God. It is pretty easy really. God is light. God in me is light. I express God by giving the light of love to everyone. I find Christmas the time of year I choose to do a light check. I ask, am I being all the light I can be? Had to go pretty deep to find it at times. It was clouded over by doubt and fear and confusion and pain I had created in my life. Now in gratitude, I am alive and I love life. I'm a vessel of light and I shine. So back on that day when I was 8, God told me to be the love to everyone. Penelope, can we sing a little song? Just take you back a little bit to our childhood. For those of you, I'm sure most of you remember.
If you lead us.
Yes. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Thank you, Kathy. And that's a perfect segue into our youth. We have a young person here with us, a fabulous harpist, and she's quite extraordinary in other instruments as well. She is a member of the Urban Youth Harp Ensemble. Please welcome Alexandra Adams.
Thank you, Alexandra. That's awesome. Our next three, carrying on our same theme of I had the light within me all along. The first person is someone near and dear to my heart. In fact, I am guilty of actually making her uproot from Alabama and coming to Atlanta. And she is a person who you ask her to do something, and she does it above and beyond every single time with a smile on her face and joy in her heart, and that is Tracy Owens. Our other speaker is, he's a wonderful school teacher here in the Atlanta district, and you will see his smiling face and joy in his heart every single Sunday when he is giving you programs, and he is one of our fantastic ushers, and that is Reggie Williams. And then the last speaker is a surprise, so I won't even say who that will be. Please welcome Tracy Owens.
Hi, everyone. It's so good to be here. And you told them part of my story. Yes, David and I have been friends since 2008, August. And yes, it is. I do blame him for bringing me here. But I actually am very, very grateful. The story that I want to share with you tonight is one of the beginning of where I began with the upbringing in the Christian church, Church of Christ religion. And, you know, I am the youngest of 4 children, all girls. And my mom was very, very present in the Church of Christ. She was there every Sunday. She was there twice on Sunday and every Wednesday. And therefore, we were there twice on Sunday and every Wednesday. And, you know, we participated in, studies throughout the summer. What is it? Bible school. Thank you. See, I've already forgotten. It was every year. It was fantastic. Can't you tell? So what I know about my journey in Church of Christ is that we were taught that the light of God is within us. The light of God, just like the song we sang, This Little Light of Mine, I'm going to let it shine. And we were taught that on a regular basis. But what we were taught and what we were allowed to really express, or at least what I was allowed to really express in my family dynamic, was very different. You see, I came into this world with very special gifts. I want to say that my gifts are so special that not anyone else has them. Yeah, a lot of people do. Everyone has unique spiritual gifts. And I recognized my unique spiritual gifts as a very young child. You see, I could connect with nature spirits. I could connect with the fairy realm. I could connect with the angels and the ancestors who had crossed over. And I would share that in my early years, and my family would say, "Oh, isn't that sweet? Isn't she cute? Her little make-believe friends. She's so cute." About 5 years old, they were like, now that's just make-believe. 7 years old, believe. 12 years old, don't tell anybody. Don't talk about that, because people are going to think you're crazy. People are going to think you're nuts. And so what happened in that process is my light got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, and I went underneath that bushel, that perceived bushel. And I stopped allowing myself to be my authentic self. I stopped allowing myself to express creatively and intuitively. And I did so at 12 years old. From late 12 to early 13, I tamped down that light even more with alcohol and drugs. And I did that for 17 years to keep all of that light down. And I realized that through that journey, I was just keeping it down, just keeping it down. Don't get too big, don't get too bright, don't smile too big, don't smile too wide. Just be, okay, you can do this, right? Let's fast forward to 2008 when I met David and I walked into the Spiritual Center in Mobile, Alabama. I'll never forget it. I walked in and he was saying something. I was late because I couldn't find the building and he was already speaking. And I walked in and what I heard him say felt like truth to me. It felt like a reminder. It felt like something that I needed to hear in my life, and I wanted to hear it regularly and often. Yeah? And I remember I sat on the back row and I started sobbing. 2 months later, I walk up to him after church one Sunday and I said, "Will I ever stop crying?" And he said, let's go to lunch. We'll talk about that. Let's go to lunch. So fast forward to 2011 when I moved here to Atlanta. Before 2011, I was in all kinds of jobs of a customer service nature, whether it was sales or in the hotel industry or what have you. And what I found was that all of that was great and that was fine and that was good, and I could put on any mask I wanted to and show up as Tracy, the doer, the getter all done, make it all happen, do it with a smile on my face. But what I found out was that there was a part of me that was really not feeling like the light of God was within me. Yeah? So I came here and I completely immersed myself in a spiritual teaching and in a spiritual way of life, so much so that I was an employee full-time at SLCA for a number of years. And I was completely immersed in this teaching. I got to hear it twice every Sunday and got to participate in all the classes and really got to connect with some really, really beautiful people. But I still felt like, okay, I can affirm all day long the light of God is within me. I am whole, perfect, and complete. But there was still something that I wasn't really sure that I believed it. And then all of a sudden, I got this notion and this hit to go for intuitive development, to go to learn how to hone my gifts and my abilities and really tap into who Tracy Owens really is. And I embarked on this beautiful path of reawakening that truth within me and tapping into that light more and more and more, taking off the mask more and more and more, and becoming who I really am. So much so that it didn't take me very long to remember all that I could connect with as a little girl. It didn't take me long to realize my divine path and purpose on this plane is to be an energy worker, an energy healer, to work with individuals, couples, corporations, that I help them remember their own unique intuitive gifts and to tap into that truth within them. And that, what I have found more than anything, is as I embrace my spiritual gifts more and more and more, and I have more and more opportunities to embrace them even more, the more I have the privilege and the pleasure and the great, great joy of assisting others with tapping into their light and letting it shine even more brightly. And so I say, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
Happy holidays, everybody. I really love listening to you guys talk about your path to this place, because I don't really have the same kind of path. I wasn't brought up in a religious family, steeped in any kind of religion. I guess my path that led to here was really through a disco. So while I'm talking, I want you to see a disco ball above my head. And what I want to tell you, like, the thing about, if you've listened to any kind of dance music, disco music, you know there's one beat. Boom, 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 boom. So for all of my 20s, my 30s, and into my 40s, that's the beat I heard. Boom, 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 boom. And imagine that's me trying to find happiness, peace, joy, and love out there with that beat. So as you can see, I wasn't very successful with that. I was running into a whole lot of walls and kind of was like, is that all there is? And so I ended up, I came to the church, and what I have gotten from here is that I don't have to be on all. I have this mind, and then I have a choice of thoughts, and I can choose my outcomes and choose my feelings at any point. At any point, I'm always at choice. I was on autopilot out there, and life is so much better because I know that I am at choice. So that's the light that probably was there all of the time, but because of the beat, I didn't know that. But now, today, I am aware of it, and it's really made my life a lot better. So thank you all so much, and happy holidays.
And our special mystery guest, David Aurelia.
I'm a surprise because it was a surprise to me as well. But I'm thrilled. Thank you for the opportunity. I was born in the 1963. So if you grew up in that time frame, there was a toy that was something that I was enamored with, and it was a snow globe. And I loved them. And my mom would collect them because I loved them. And because I loved them so much, I'd walk by them, and they'd always be around this time of year, and Christmas time, and we'd walk by them, and I'd just look at them. And I'd look at them, and I just loved it. I loved the scene. I loved everything it stood for. And then my mom would just reach over and shake it and put it on there. I'm like, oh my God, don't touch it. Don't, I was all nervous that she was doing something. And she's like, don't ever. She goes, that's the beauty of the snow globe, is that there's movement, that there's chaos, that it's that's what it was designed to be. That's what it was meant to be. And so if you don't allow it to be, it can't be what it's supposed to be. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. So I grew up with that, and I never forgot it. And then as growing up, as my parents were great, they had friends of every nationality, of every religion. I was raised Catholic in a very predominantly white town in Ohio. And for my parents to have Jewish friends, black friends, I mean, they were just like, the neighbors would be like, geez, he really is. All right, but that's just the way, my dad was always like, you accept people of all, everybody is one. There's no difference to us. So that was something. As growing up, it was just ingrained to me. And the other thing he said to me, and I'll never forget it, is always, your silence is your acceptance. The minute you see something happen to somebody else that you don't agree with, you better open your mouth, mister. And because he goes, because at some point they're going to be coming after you, and you better hope that somebody's going to be saying something. So I was like, okay, I never forgot it. So now I am, Catholic boy in school, and altar boy, the whole bit. And so... Yeah, don't get me started. But one of the things we did is one Christmas we decided the nuns we were gonna go sing to the older nuns that were in a nursing home, and they gave us an oval, and they said we're gonna sing a song from a group called Up With People, and I'm like, okay. And so then they taught us the song, and the words to the song were, if more people were for people, all people everywhere, there'd be a lot less people to worry about and a lot more people to care. So I thought, okay, I like it. I like the tune. So they gave us this oval, and they said, okay, we want you to paint a picture of a face, because we're going to put all these faces up there. It's going to represent us. So, okay, now remember, I said a predominantly white town in Ohio. So everybody created a white face, except me. My face was brown. And so everybody's looking at me, they're like, wait, and then I got made fun of, and they're like, I can't believe you're doing that. Why are you doing that? And I go, well, we're supposed to represent the world. I mean, that's what the song is saying, isn't it? And so the nun had said to me, she called me up, and I thought I was in trouble, but she actually says, that was the best thing I've heard today. And so she let me hold the banner, and so I got to sing. So we're singing the song, and I loved it. So now, fast forward, I go through school, I get out of college, and I want to see the world because I don't want to stay in Northeast Ohio the rest of my life. And I want to see something else. So I joined Up With People. And so it's an international group. You travel around the world. It's an international cast. I traveled for 6 years, went to 46 countries, 48 states, and lived with host families, did community service, and had the best time of my life. Because it challenged me. I was there when the wall came down in Berlin. I was there in Estonia when they claimed their independence. Those kinds of experiences allowed the world to become a bigger place for me, and allowed me to see that every person that I met was just like you and I. And so there was a oneness in this world that I didn't even realize. There was a light in me that I didn't understand, but I was seeing it now for that. And so I go and then I come off the road after 6 years. I go to work for Disney, as you know. I then start working for Universal. Because of my international experience, Universal hired me, and I started creating live shows for theme parks. And then I started building my way up. And then the Japanese that partnered with Universal, they decided they're building a park in Japan, and they want me to be the one to head up all the live shows in Japan. So I now transferred to Los Angeles. I'm now living in Los Angeles, and I'm creating live shows internationally for Universal Studios. So had a great time, living the high life, loving it, got a great job, lots of money, everything's going great. And then it gets to that point where, I decided to go out on my own. What a moron. I thought, I was just like, oh, it's gonna be better, I'm gonna do my own thing. And so things were good for a while, and then we hit what I call the perfect storm. Actor strike, writer strike, economy tanked. And then it became very difficult. But prior to that, here I am, still Catholic. Here's the thing, I'm not even a New Thought yet. So it's now 2004-ish, I'm in doing all these things, and I am working for Universal, and the priest says to me, I'd like to meet with you. And I said, okay. So he's like, we're doing some work with the church, and we want to expand, and we want to do this thing for the homeless, and we want blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, I know where this is going. And he's like, we'd like if you could, donate some money. And I said, absolutely. I am all about tithing. I get it. I understand that. I grew up with it. So let me meet with my finance guy, and I'll let you know. That was Wednesday. That weekend was Proposition 8, which is the gay marriage, was in California. And the Mormons and the Catholics were dead set against it. And so there were two gay gentlemen in front of the church that happened to be at the mass I went to that were trying to get the Catholics to change their mind about why they were voting against us. And I went up to them, I said, guys, you're not bringing anybody to the cause here. They feel attacked, they're not getting it. We got to figure out a different way. I'm with you, totally, but we got to figure out a different way. And they said, that, yeah, you're right. So I go in, I'm sitting in the mass, and the priest from the pulpit looks down at all of us and tells us, on Tuesday, it's voting day. And this is how you need to vote. And these gay people are not this. Gay people are, this is an abomination. These are blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking to myself, okay, wait a minute. My gay money is good for you, but I'm not good for you. So this was everything that it was everything that was real to me. This is my community. This is what I grew up with. So I sat there, and then here comes my dad in my head. Your silence is your acceptance. Your silence is your acceptance. And I'm like, I got to stand up. I got to get out of here. I got to get the hell out of here. And I sit there, and I thought, if I don't get up and get out of here, I might as well just say I agree with everything he's saying. So I said, your silence is your acceptance. Your silence is your acceptance. I stood up in the middle of everybody. And then he looked at me, I looked at him. Of course, I didn't say anything, I didn't make a scene, but I went to the center aisle, and I walked out the back, and I kept walking. And as I got closer to that back door, I thought, you walk out this door, you're not coming back in. And so that was my whole life. So I walked out, and I just lost it. And I just didn't know where to go. I didn't know where I belonged. I didn't know if I was accepted. I didn't know if I would fit in. And it was just a very troubling time. And so I remembered that snow globe. And I said, there is beauty in the chaos. And there's beauty in that energy, in that vibration. So I make my way to the Church of Religious Science in North Hollywood. North Hollywood Church of Religious Science, I'll never forget. I walk in, and there's, along the walls, there's pictures of every religion. And it says, we honor all paths to God. And it had all these different faiths. And then they started talking. And of course, as we all do when you go to your first talk, you always think that the minister's in your head and that their talk is exactly for you. And so I immediately thought, oh my God, you're in my head. And so how did you know what I was thinking? And so then I also got very emotional. And so I started taking classes, and I started getting completely engrossed in it, in the teaching, and knowing that truly there was so much new thought in me all along that my parents had instilled in me that I didn't even realize that light was in me. I just didn't know how to tap into it. I didn't know how to believe in it. I didn't know how to trust it. And as I learned that through class and getting more confident, it was so much easier to tackle the things in life. So when the economy tanked and all that stuff started happening, I realized I needed to get out of LA. I didn't like what I was becoming. I didn't like the energy that it caused me to become, to protect myself. And I needed to be closer to my parents because they were getting older, and I was the only one to be able to take care of them. So I thought, I'm going to move to the East Coast after 20-some years in Los Angeles. So I'm moving my whole life, and everybody's like, well, what's your job? I'm like, I don't have one. And they're like, what? And I said, well, I'm interviewing for 2 jobs, one in DC, one in Chicago. Where's Atlanta? Not even in the picture at this point. And I had no idea why I do. I met a boy, and that was why I came to Atlanta. But, so let's be true about this. So that was one thing, but I do bless him on his way, because it didn't work out, but I do bless him for his role in my life, because I would have not thought about Atlanta had it not been for him. So that was something that he came into the situation to get me there. But anyways, it didn't work out with the other cities. I come to Atlanta. I like it here. I loved it here. No job, had no idea, didn't know what I was doing. Go to a talk, walk into go into the SLCA over at the Woodruff, and this one says, to evolve, you have to involve. I'm like, oh boy, all right. Once again, he's in my head. So I go, I start volunteering. I then sit with Tracy at that point, and all I did was data entry. I started doing the lists, and that's all I did. And then they asked for some help, and I started doing something. I'm like, sure, I'll do this for you. I'll do that for you. And then David's like, we're looking for an executive director. I'm like, oh, I'll help you find one. So I'm like, trying to help him find people. One guy didn't even show up. I mean, it was just a comedy of errors. And then it all ended up working out because I finally, realized it. And it was interesting when I finally accepted the position and then went into the job in the spring. When I unpacked my bags, actually I had boxes that I didn't unpack, I was in storage. When I finally moved into an apartment and I could do that, I opened one journal, and there was a paper like this. And I had scripted for a type of job that I wanted, like-minded people, something where I felt like I belonged, something where I wasn't going to be judged, something and as I read through that, I again started going into tears because I'm thinking, I just scripted for this job. Yeah. I didn't even realize, I didn't even know what scripting was. I didn't know Joyce Reynolds. So anyways, there are things that were in me that I did not even know, and that I just needed to trust and allow to come out. And so once I did and eased into it, so many things came. So that's me.
And so we want to thank that boy, whoever that boy was, that got him to Atlanta. Before we start with our lighting ceremony, those who are going to help us usher, we're going to take an offering. And if you are willing to contribute, or if you have an envelope at this time, those who are going to facilitate, Penelope joins us. We are live streaming tonight, and we want to welcome you and thank you for joining us too for our holiday candlelighting service. If you too would like to participate, one of the easiest ways that you could do is through a new format called Text to Tithe. And the number that you can dial on your cell phone is 404-796-7030. I look into the spotlight and then it all goes white. 404-796-7030. And as you prepare your tithes and offerings, we're going to multitask here for a little bit. And as the plate goes ahead and goes by you, then I'm going to ask that you get your candle ready. And while that is happening, I'm going to ask that all 6 of our speakers, if they will come and stand with me with their candles. If you can clap and hold a candle at the same time, will you show your appreciation for these beautiful people? All right. Thank you so much. One of the things that we discover when we say, I had it, the light within me all along, is that the light then is what? It is indistinguishable. Inextinguishable, meaning you can't put it out. No matter how far away we go, no matter how much we repress it, no matter how much we resist it, the light in its eternality is always there. And the other beautiful part about that is however much we give of that light, guess what? There is still plenty. And so as I turn to these beautiful 6 people, if you would, David, if you would start and light your candle from our main candle. And Reggie, if you would pass that to Kathy, to Tracy, Tracy to Will. Uh-oh. It is true. It's inextinguishable. And last year, on this very day, there was someone who was standing where these individuals were standing, and she shared from her heart, and that was our beloved Reverend Sandra Wells, who recently made her transition into the light. And so, Sandra, not only do we love you, but we light this in your honor as well. And so if you would stand with your candle, we have some instructions. Number 1, the people in front of you have what is called hair. You must be very, very aware of the hair, except for Ty. But Ty has a very hairy shawl on, so there's also clothing that you must be aware of. This year, too, we got very fancy with the cups, and that is to help us with regards to the dripping wax. Sometimes as we sing, as we will do, we want to sway with our candles, and that wax wants to fly with the sway. And then David is in here ironing the wax out of the carpet, and Gloria is ironing the wax out of the chairs. And so we want to be cognizant of that. And so just be mindful. And if you guys would just, some of you could go down the center, some of you could go down the aisle. And as your light gets, go ahead, and as your candle gets lit, if you would turn to those around you. We've got some over to our far left of the auditorium, Gloria. We have yet to create a hat for Penelope where the candle can sit on top of her head while she plays. So Penelope, if you'll go ahead and play Silent Night. If you will take a moment now as Penelope is playing and put your focus upon the candle, upon the flame. We believe in the power of affirmative prayer. We believe in the power of intention. And ancient scripture said, where 2 or more are gathered together in that intention, that which is God, or that which is intelligence, that which is the blessed divine is there. What we sometimes forget is the potency and the constancy of that. And that within this room tonight, with these beautiful lights, that we have the power within us to create the intention to send this light all across our planet. And so for just about 2 minutes, I want you to, as you organically feel, to shout out a location in our world where you would like this 2 or more gathered intention to go across the miles energetically and establish light and peace in that area. And I'm going to start, and I'm going to say Syria, Israel, Egypt, Iran, Chicago. Shout it out. San Bernardino, Virgin Islands. And we know that right here and right now, as these locations are spoken, that there is no distance, there is no geographical separation from that which is peace. And so just by speaking it, just as we are told that we speak into law and it becomes so, we speak the names of these places and we know that it is so. And with the theme that the light has been there all along, that light somehow in this very moment is being revealed in all of those locations. If you would sing with me, Silent Night. And Penelope and some of the music team have come up with a new song this year. Penelope, can you introduce it to us?
I am the reason.
I am the season. Yes, I am a light in this world.
I am the reason. I am the season. Yes, I am the light in this world. You are the
moment of silence. Just look around the room. How will you remember that you've had the light within you all along? Go now and take that light into this world and realize that you are the ripple effect that the world has been waiting for. And on the count of 3, if you will very lovingly put your hand behind the flame as you extinguish your candle, and together we say, and so. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, happy every single thing that we celebrate. Happy Hanukkah. Turn to those around you and say, I love you. A Happy New Year. Thank you for coming.